That's number one. You kind of reset.
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
Same shoulder length, and the other. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Real Health Podcast with Brandi and Amir. Hi, Brandi.
Hi, Amir.
Brandi Rashidian is my wife. I am Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Real Health is where we review the latest articles in the news regarding health and wellness, drugs, all of that stuff. And then what we want to do is give you the wellness perspective on it as to how does it apply to your life, how can you use the information, and the goal of the podcast is that we help you feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger.
Yep.
So how you feeling today? Younger? You're under the weather.
I'm a little under the weather, but I'm functional. I've been hammering my supplements.
You got adjusted today too?
I got adjusted today, so yeah.
We moved all her bones around, put them in place.
Yeah, I did. I requested the thoracic adjustment because then that boosts my white blood cell count, boosts my immune system. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going around. So you just have
now,
to.
this is great because you still have been working out. You didn't slow down when you were under the weather.
Nope.
And a lot of people have been sick. In fact, we have an article about like how pneumonia is on the rise recently.
Yep.
I think we're not going to get to that one today because we have some other ones ahead of that, but we may. So why don't we jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's talk about meat. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Let's do it.
I'm on the wrong article. Hang on. Here we go. Good idea. Let's talk about meat and no meat.
Yeah, meat versus vegan. This is a very common conversation that we have with patients. There's a lot in the news about vegan diets versus non-vegan diets or vegetarian diets.
Yeah, it's a big debate because a lot of bodybuilders believe you have to be eating meat to make muscle and stay youthful and so on. We know muscle mass is directly related to how we age. It's very important. In fact, having more muscle mass helps you live longer and prevent injuries much more. Even car accident injuries, like the guy who's got more muscle versus the person who's doesn't have a lot of muscle. The person who doesn't have muscle gets injured in a car accident much more. So muscle is useful. You need to protect it. You need to continue to grow it. It's harder to put on muscle after the age of 40, they say. Although, obviously, looking at me, I haven't had any problem with that.
You're doing great.
Kidding. Thank you. No comments about that one. Leave that one alone.
Now you're going to get lots of comments.
Yes, my coach especially. So the article is from Healthline Health News, and the title is Omnivore versus Vegan, which is better for your health? Your heart health.
Which that's really the premise of this. So just know the only thing that they looked at really in this article is markers that had to do with
blood chemistry.
With heart health. Yes.
Yeah, and again, who's to say that's the best way to look at heart health? Because I would argue to say heart rate variability is way more powerful to tell you if your heart is healthy or not, or functioning at the right level. And unfortunately, heart rate variability isn't getting enough traction with cardiologists, and the reason is because they believe you can't improve heart rate variability.
But it's fascinating because if you look at the fitness world is all about heart rate variability.
Because it measures how you're recovering, how well you can recover from your previous workout, and whether you're ready for the next workout, and whether you're susceptible to injury or not.
Well, and we look at it, take it a little bit further, because for us, heart rate variability is not just about your recovery and your performance in your workouts, but it's also about how much stress your body can handle before you break down.
That's
right? So I must have hit about my threshold, and my body said, okay. And I had 2 weeks that were nonstop crazy, right? And I wasn't getting my sleep, and I was running.
She's the PTA president at the kids' school. So she has to manage concessions over there. She had an event for
Christmas. So we did a Christmas shop. We did a celebrate the season event. So me and a couple of our PTA gals were literally running nonstop. Here's what's funny. Me and the other main person running it, I texted her today and I was like, hey, when are you heading out of town? And she's like, well, I got a little behind because I was under the weather yesterday. And I was like, oh my gosh, mine hit at the same time.
That's what happens. You're planning to go on vacation. You work a lot harder the week before you go on vacation. first day on paradise, first day of vacation, you got a sinus
Yeah.
infection. Just because you burned the candle at two ends, or
Yep.
or you maybe your stress level went above your tolerance or
Yes.
capacity for stress. Now, this is a good time for me to tell you, get this book and read it, because this is going to teach you how to increase your stress tolerance and adaptability to stress. Now, I'm not saying if you can handle stress, you never get sick. I'm just telling you, you'll get sick and you'll bounce back a lot faster. You'll get sick and you won't miss a workout like Brandi. You'll get sick and you'll still be able to show up and do the podcast.
Right.
That's what it means to have a stress-proof life.
Yes.
So, moving on. So the article, it says, a new report found that those who ate a healthy vegan diet had better health markers compared to those who ate an omnivorous diet. Now, the word there is healthy, because certain cheesecakes and beer can be vegetarian
Correct.
and vegan. So
Correct.
anyway, maybe not cheesecake, because cheese wouldn't be vegan, but
they do have a vegan version.
vegan cheesecake.
They do.
Okay.
Our favorite cheesecake from Common Market, 100%, they have a vegan version.
I'm not going to try that.
But it's not as good.
Sorry. I haven't tried it. I don't know. No disrespect. I like vegans and omnivores. We don't want to discriminate.
Nope.
We don't want to
We
get
love 'em
canceled. So the researchers recruited 22 pairs of twins. I like the way they did this one.
So
They
44
took
individuals.
24 individuals, 22 pairs of twins, who were randomly assigned to eat either an omnivorous or a vegan diet for 8 weeks. Remember the number 8. The study looked at LDL cholesterol, which is low density lipid cholesterol, fasting insulin, and body weight between the two groups. The report, published in Journal of American Medical Association Thursday, said healthy vegan diet experienced greater reductions in LDL cholesterol, fasting insulin, and body weight compared to the twins who ate an omnivorous diet. And so high LDL cholesterol and poor blood sugar control and obesity are all risk factors in heart disease. So that's why those are the ones they looked at. Even modest reductions in meat can promote cardiovascular health, is what the article says. And
And I think that we should go on record to say that if you are eating in the United States, especially, the size of your portion is astronomical compared to what it should be and what your body actually needs. And so I would agree. I think I don't think we need to eat the way Americans eat in general, right? We have ginormous portions. I think if we cut our portions down just a hair for pretty much everything, we would all be healthier, right? So some of this it just makes sense.
There was a book called Body for Life a while back. Do you remember that? I think it came out in 2000.
I remember that. You
Bill
had me
Phillips.
read it, right, when
Yeah,
we met.
that's right. Bill Phillips wrote it, and he said when you're looking at portion size, look at your fist,
Yeah.
and the size of your fist in protein, the size of your fist in carbohydrates, and the size of your fist in vegetables. Put that on your plate. If it's bigger than this, don't eat it.
Probably too much.
That's a neat way of checking the portion.
Yeah.
If you got gigantic hands, maybe you reduce the pinky or something.
Just for measurement's sake.
You know, they say big hands, big stomach.
That is what they say.
Isn't that what they say?
Yes.
So this guy is quoted, this is a PhD, Christopher Gardner, said the take-home advice would be for individuals to find a balance that can be maintained long-term. Diets that are only followed for short-term provide only short-term benefits. I 100% agree with this.
I actually might even say that short-term diets, some of them may not give you even short-term benefits, because
Correct.
I'm not a huge fan of a diet.
Yeah.
I want lifestyle, but that's
Exactly.
me.
So the article continues, a vegan diet improved cholesterol. So they did this for 8 weeks. All participants were advised to opt for minimally processed foods like grains, whole grains, fruits, and vegetables instead of added sugar. So neither side ate sugar.
Correct. They were prepared. They gave them their meals for the first 4 weeks, but then
That's
made
right.
them create their own after that.
After that. So they gave them counseling as well, is what it says, First 4 weeks, meals were prepared for them. Second 4 weeks, they got to choose what they wanted. During the final four, okay, yep. Both groups were instructed to eat vegetables, beans, grains, and fruit. However, the vegan group ate more of these foods than the carnivorous group. The vegan group also experienced improvements in fasting high-density lipid, which is the good cholesterol. They call it good cholesterol. Reduced triglycerides, vitamin B12, glucose, which is blood sugar, and TMAO levels. So I had to look that up. I don't know. Do you know what TMAOs are?
What is it?
Trimethylamine N oxide.
Okay.
It's a metabolite that's produced by your gut bacteria and red meat, egg yolk, dairy, milk, things like that cause it to be released more, and it's a marker that increases heart disease. So
well, but what's interesting is they weren't statistically significant.
Yeah. So I don't know what they use. Maybe like one standard deviation. You know, and with those of you who are statistical geniuses, maybe it had to be a standard deviation off to say this is significant. So it wasn't significant. So maybe that group was just a tiny bit better on some of these.
Right.
So we didn't mention it. They didn't want to put it in the main part of the article. This suggests that within a short period of time, a plant-based diet can offer benefits to heart health, even when compared to a healthy meat-based diet. Now, there's data that says vegetarians live longer than people who eat meat, but I'm not convinced that it's because they don't eat meat.
Right.
I'm convinced it's because they eat a lot of vegetables. Because the meat eaters, like you said, the general population doesn't eat a lot of vegetables.
Correct.
They don't like fruit, they don't like vegetables, but they like their potato and steak. And I think if you could still eat the steak, but get the same amount of vegetables as the vegan person
Right.
does.
Because
you
I was
would live
giggling
just
a
as
little
long.
bit because in here they say, well, the vegans had a lot more vegetables.
Yeah.
Well, then of course you're going to have higher fiber.
Higher fiber.
And so it does change.
Fiber is what makes that red meat it's like the train that the meat sits on, and it pushes it out of your body.
Yeah.
So
You need those veggies.
you need the veggies. Please eat the veggies. Very,
And it's
very
not
important.
easy. Like, I'm not a huge veggie person.
Right.
I don't love fruit,
Right.
right? Mostly because it takes so much time to like cut and peel and blah, blah, blah. So if it's not peeled and done for me, I will have a propensity not to eat those things.
Yeah, it's
So
work.
yeah, it is work. So fruit, like I pick my staples. So like I know how nutrient rich an apple is. And so an apple is one of the best fruits. If you're going to put, if you have a hard time with that, let that be the fruit that you put into your diet. It is so fantastic. It's just packed full of great things. Make sure it's organic, so it actually has those nutrients in it. But it's hard. It's hard to get all those things in. So you have to get creative sometimes, but you have to have them.
Yeah.
That and water. That's
Right.
the other thing. They don't talk about that, but water changes everything.
And I've done enough studies. I've written 2 books on stress. I know that just your thought process can change your blood chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
Which is your good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, all that stuff changes based on if you're a worrying person, if you're a stressed out person, if you're a happy person. It's tremendous. In fact, they say the biggest factor in longevity is a positive mental attitude, not eating and exercise.
The brain has everything to do with that.
Correct.
I mean, we talk a lot when we're talking about these things, they're like, how can your mind control your health factors like that? And I'm like, well, if you just look at certain mental health disorders, such as multiple personality disorders, no longer called that. I think it's called dissociative disorder. Those individuals have subconsciously so much control over their physical body because of trauma. They can actually change eye color with personality. One personality could have diabetes, the other cannot have diabetes. Like birthmarks can appear and disappear. So it is 100%
I listened
possible.
to an interview of a lady who was abused by her father and grandfather as a child. And then she had gotten married. This was on Focus on the Family.
Mm-hmm.
And she told the interviewers that every time she would have a flashback of those times when she was being abused by these men, the bruises on her thighs would reappear.
Oh yeah.
Even though nobody touched her, those bruises would just come right back, because that's how strong the emotion was,
Yeah.
and the thought, that how vivid that memory was.
Yeah.
And she had to go through a lot of. She had developed multiple personalities and so on. But grace of God, she had been healed from all of that, and she
Yeah.
was able to have a healthy marriage. Anyways,
But all that to tell you, the mind plays a huge part, and
Yes.
these things, these factors, can be altered.
and you can't tell me just because they're twins, they have the same personality.
Oh, yeah.
We know that they don't have the same personality.
there's
so
no way.
it's very hard to say. We don't know what their age groups were either.
Yeah.
So that has a difference. There's a lot of factors you look at, and then you have to go. Real quick, I want to mention something. There's such a thing as a fatty liver. Now, it used to be fatty liver was only people who drink a lot of alcohol, but then they saw that people who don't drink at all are getting fatty liver, and then they found teenagers are getting fatty liver. So
That's crazy.
here's what causes. So now there's two types of sugar. There's glucose and there's fructose. Glucose is found in sugary foods like sugar packets and pastries, cookies, things like that. And then fructose is found in fruit. Now, fructose replaces glycogen in your liver. Glucose replaces glycogen in your muscles. So if you eat a ton of fruit and not a lot of vegetables, you fill up on lots of fruit, you actually will have a small propensity to getting fatty liver, because you put too much of fruit sugar, fructose, into your liver, because that's where it all gets piled up. Now, what's even more dangerous is high fructose corn syrup. So the reason teenagers were getting fatty liver, even though they're not drinking alcohol, is because they drink a lot of soda, and United States soda has high fructose corn syrup in it. And so they were getting fatty liver. Now, I do know one thing. If you do between 3 to 6 weeks of nothing but vegetables, fatty liver goes down tremendously.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So vegetables, though, not fruit. Vegetables. You say, hey, for the next 3 weeks, next 21 days, we're going to eat nothing but vegetables, only vegetables, no meat, no carbs, no grains, not just vegetables, and you will be able to see that fatty liver start to resolve, and then move on to a healthy diet. I firmly believe meat, proteins should be part of the diet. I've heard, I'm not the expert, remember I'm a chiropractor, but there are certain amino acids that are essential to the body, especially for building muscle, that you cannot find in any vegetable or any fruit. So you either have to supplement with those amino acids or have some meat in your diet. You don't need a lot, but you should have some meat.
Yep.
I eat a lot of meat.
Yes, you do.
But so forgive me for that. Don't judge me. Next, amid childhood pneumonia outbreaks, infectious diseases expert reveals key facts about white lung syndromes. They call it white because, like in pneumonia, your lungs get filled with fluid. On X-ray, they look white. As hospitals in China are reportedly overwhelmed by a surge of mysterious childhood pneumonia cases, outbreaks are starting to crop up in other countries, including parts of the U.S. As of today, the CDC is not seeing anything out of the ordinary related to the levels of mycoplasma across the country, but we are watching it closely. This is Dr. Mandy Cohen, medical doctor, the director of the CDC, and this is what they told Fox News. And so I want to say mycoplasma is also known as mycoplasmosis. They also call it walking pneumonia. It's the kind of pneumonia where you can still move around, function, doesn't knock you out all the way, but it is dangerous. It is a type of bacteria. Typically, it's self-limiting, depending on the strength of your immune system. So that's just my little fill-in on that. And other infectious disease expert Dr. Sarah Park, medical director of medical affairs at Carius, a California biotech company, told Fox News Digital that the surge in respiratory illness, including cases of pneumonia, is primarily attributed to common pathogens like Mycoplasma pneumoniae, respiratory syncytial virus, known as RSV, adenoviruses, and influenza viruses, which, basically they're saying there's none out of ordinary. These are not new viruses that haven't been around. This isn't a brand new type of virus that we need to worry about. White lung syndrome is a reference to the appearance of the chest scans that show diffusely damaged lungs related to severe cases of pneumonia, is what Dr. Park said. The increase in respiratory, and this is the part I want to read word for word, the increase in respiratory illnesses is believed to be due to a combination of factors. So this is what they think is causing the increase. Respiratory illnesses typically surge in the colder months, so that's nothing surprising. But this has been compounded by a post pandemic effect, according to experts. So, this is in quotation marks. Dr. Sarah Park said this. She said, this is the first winter without strict COVID-19 measures, and that has likely led to increased exposure and susceptibility to common respiratory infections, which I say it cannot possibly be true because before 2020, we didn't have these restrictions. So why are we worse now? She says one more thing. She said prolonged lockdowns and other COVID-19 containment measures have limited people's exposure to common pathogens, potentially reducing population immunity levels. Correct. Somebody cancel her. But I like what she said. This woman should be banned. She's basically saying, like she said, the first part I think was maybe a political answer. I don't know. Saying that, oh, we're not as strict anymore. We don't wear masks. We don't isolate, all that stuff. That's what we're getting. But we didn't do that before either. But she says all the isolation caused a reduced immune function in the whole population.
Yeah. So she's talking about herd immunity, and it is such an important factor to a community's health.
Yeah.
Because when we isolate and we don't come in contact with these other strains of virus or what have you, we can't build up. When you have a small exposure to something, your body goes, oh, wait, that's not supposed to be here. Let's get rid of it. And then we're going to remember that we're not supposed to have this in the body. So we'll be even more ready for it because now we know how to treat it, right? So when we back out of those things, when we aren't around and not in the normal population and we don't have as much exposure, your body cannot build up the immunity to that. So
literally every time our kids get sick, I say, good, you're going to get stronger from this.
Yeah. So last time you won't have to worry about that strain again.
Don't call Child Protective Services on me. I take care of them. I'm not I'm not a bad dad.
But we don't we know that a virus is also a huge part of their DNA being
we get exposed to a lot of retroviruses which complete the human DNA after birth. And that's a fact. So that's why children will get a virus and then they start to walk.
Right. They
go
have a
through
big
their
growth
developmental markers. They start to crawl. They start to talk. They go through these mile markers. So, anyways, in the U.S., the outbreaks are they've seen a little bit in the states of Ohio and Massachusetts. I don't know why, but that's what they saw, including the Netherlands, which obviously is not part of the United States. It's usually treated with a course of antibiotics. There's some concern about antibiotic resistance, particularly in mycoplasma pneumonia infections. So certain bacteria, you got to let them run their course.
Right.
You should get stronger towards it, and antibiotics can make your body weaker, and they can strengthen these bacteria because literally these things can adapt. Just like you adapt to a drug. Like if you take a drug, the first time you take it, you have a big effect from it.
Right.
I'm talking even like heroin, cocaine.
Especially opioids.
But then you need more to get the same effect, and that's part of where that addiction comes from. And then you get to a point where you don't even feel normal until you take it. So overuse or misuse of antibiotics can lead to strains that are harder to treat, emphasizing the need for responsible antibiotic prescribing and usage. So this Dr. Park, I think she's pretty smart. I like 2/3 of the things she says.
Yeah. Yep. So because we see it a lot of times, doctors will, even if they find somebody has viral bronchitis, they will still give them an antibiotic just in case.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and while
because they say this is going to prevent secondary infections, that's their thought process.
Correct. And I mean, I'm not an MD, so I may not understand everything that goes along with that, but I would say for myself, I would opt not to do that. I would want to just take care of what I was dealing with and not end up giving myself an antibiotic that I may or may not need. If I need it, that's different. But if I don't, why take it now and run the risk of not being able to use it when you do need it?
Yeah.
That would be my concern.
What's funny is, and I don't think this is happening as much anymore, but like in the era of our parents, when a patient would go to a doctor would say, "Oh, you just have a cold. You're gonna get over it." The patient would say, "Well, give me some antibiotics,"
Right.
and they would actually ask for it, and then the doctors would be like, "Fine," and give it to them because they want to get rid of that patient. And they're like, "You don't need this. Just give it to me," because we thought it would just strengthen our immune system. We didn't know as much, but now our attorneys are probably starting to yell at us because we need to mention that if you were prescribed an antibiotic, we are telling you to follow your doctor's advice.
And if you have questions about it, go talk with them.
Go talk to the doctors.
Questions are not a problem. You should always be willing and feel comfortable enough with your physician to have a conversation with them, and they should that should be welcomed because we want informed patients.
Yes. So for legal reasons, I'm going to tell you whatever you were prescribed, you need to follow your doctor's advice and follow that up with. I also think a pharmacist should be on your healthcare team. You should have a pharmacist that you can ask questions because I don't think the medical doctors know drugs as well as a pharmacist would. Pharmacist's whole life is about medication. They know those drugs better than anybody else. And contraindications. And all that stuff. So anytime, if I am ever prescribed a medication, especially if I'm also going to be taking another one with it or certain supplements, I always go to a pharmacist and I go, "Hey, what do you think of this? And what are the drawbacks, all that stuff?" And they'll explain it to me. I'll say, "Oh, don't take this with this or that." And I listen to them. I know they understand what they're talking about.
Yep.
They're also not incentivized to force you to take the medication, while other healthcare providers are financially incentivized to prescribe certain medications
even though it's not supposed to be. So if it's happening,
that's why President Obama created the law that says that has to be public knowledge. So there is a website. You can type in the name of your medical doctor, and the website will tell you exactly how many dollars they received from Big Pharma for prescribing certain drugs.
Yep.
Anyways, we'll move on from that. I'm not saying they're bad doctors. They're good doctors, and patients probably needed them.
But it is the system. It's not about the individual. It's the system.
Yeah, the system. And every system has some improvements it could use. So
let's talk about coffee.
I like it.
Coffee is one of my favorite things.
It is.
Nothing happens in my life before coffee. I'm just going to tell you.
Really?
Ugh.
I do my exercises before coffee.
Not me. Nothing gets done without my coffee. I cannot speak to my children. I cannot be asked to do anything. I do not want to have a conversation. I want silence until I have my coffee in my hand.
There's an article we're going to read probably next podcast that talks about this woman who, like, her kids get rowdy and she goes in a room and screams in a pillow. We should have given her some coffee.
Right?
So, this is from Medical News Today. Regular coffee consumption may help prevent IBS, but it's not for everyone. IBS stands for irritable bowel syndrome. A lot of people are familiar with this. Drinking coffee may help protect against the development of irritable bowel syndrome or relieve its symptoms for some people, according to a new meta-analysis. What's a meta-analysis? Meta-analysis is where they look at all the other research and put them all together and tell you what they found. So it's an examination of a number of independent studies of the same subject to determine the overall trend. So that's that meta-analysis. They just went back and looked up every research article about coffee and IBS, cross-referenced them, only used the ones that were in English, they said, and some of the other ones. So the meta-analysis included data from 432,000 participants across 8 different studies.
Wow.
In 5 of those studies, coffee was protective against the condition, while 3 suggested the exact opposite. So 3 out of the 8 articles said coffee causes IBS. Irritable bowel syndrome affects women more than men.
Now, causes or triggers? That would be my question.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, I think there's some flaws in this, but according to the meta-analysis, coffee drinkers are 16% less likely to develop IBS than people who do not drink coffee. This applies to people who drink any amount of coffee regularly. And they didn't even talk about how the coffee is prepared, which is what it says. It says it contains over 100 compounds. Coffee contains over 100 compounds, which can vary considerably based on their source, how they were roasted, types of ground, their method of preparation. These details are not always delineated in studies. Many of the studies also relied on self-reporting questionnaires regarding both coffee and IBS, and that this could cause misclassification and confounding issues. The meta-analysis appears in the journal Nutrients.
Yeah, because there are regular, like run-of-the-mill coffee. If they don't prepare it or roast it and whatnot properly, can actually have a lot of bacteria in it. And so it's so hard to say in my thought process, like, did they have one that was really laden with bacteria and that's what triggered IBS, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, so let me I have some opinions on that.
Share.
Let me tell you, this is the senior investigator of this study was Dr. Kin Jiang Ing from National University of Singapore. He said coffee is a polyphenol-rich beverage. Coffee contains several bioactive compounds such as polyphenols, diterpenes, trigonelline, and melanoidins. Gastroenterologist Dr. Babak Firuzi, not involved in the research, also emphasized that compounds found in coffee have antioxidant, antifibrotic, and anti-inflammatory properties, as well as an influence on gut microbiota bile acids. Gut microbiome, we'll just say microbiome, bile acids, motility of the intestines, and intestinal permeability. These properties can potentially have a beneficial impact on IBS, is what Dr. Firuzi said. Dr. Ing said that of the 8 studies included in the meta-studies, 3 actually found the exact opposite. Now, they're saying that it's not causation. So there's causation and correlation, right? There's a correlation, but there's no causation because we don't know what the cause is. Right. We do know coffee does increase bile release from the gallbladder. We do know it increases gut motility, and it has an effect on oxidative stress on the body. But I also think that too much of it increases oxidative stress.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because it affects your adrenal glands and so on. But I know your gallbladder will be healthier if you drink some coffee. So like a cup in the morning, maybe a cup in the afternoon, not much more. And we did a lot of coffee articles earlier in our podcasts. Not only can caffeine in coffee stimulate motility, but other molecules in coffee promote bowel movement through increased intestinal transit. Therefore, coffee in some with diarrhea predominant IBS may not be of benefit and could actually make symptoms worse. So that's why some people, their IBS gets worse when they drink coffee, and they just can't do it. He added that the story is different for patients with fatty liver disease. We just mentioned the fatty liver. For them, he recommends at least 1 cup of coffee each day, including decaffeinated coffee. Coffee, he said, has been known to reduce fibrosis in the liver. It also helps prevent gallstones. Like I said, it causes a flush of your gallbladder. So a lot of times, your morning coffee, if it's on an empty stomach, you end up having a bowel movement right afterwards because your gallbladder flushes and it makes everything move faster. And also, when the gallbladder flushes, now your liver can produce more bile and replenish the gallbladder. If you don't have a gallbladder, you need to supplement with bile salts. That's a different story for another day. But that's why liver is healthier and gut, everything else improves.
It's great.
So drink a little bit of coffee.
Some good stuff.
Now, you don't have to feel bad about all the coffee you drink.
I drink a lot less than I used to.
That's true.
So.
That's true. Let's do one quick one. There's a 1-page article from NBC News. The title is 70-year-old woman. This is just fun. 70-year-old woman in Uganda gives birth to twins after getting fertility treatments.
Now, my first thought is, at going on 50, more power to her. I would not even.
You're only 47.
Yeah, I'm closer to 50 now than I was last year. I can't fathom that. Even at my age.
You got to be really motivated.
Hugely motivated.
So this was in Kampala, Uganda. 70-year-old woman in Uganda has given birth to twins after receiving fertility treatment, making her one of the world's oldest new mothers. So there was actually an older one. Her name is Safina Waya. Gave birth to a boy and a girl on Wednesday via C-section at the hospital in the capital, Kampala, where she had been receiving in vitro fertilization treatment. And the spokesperson for that hospital said she's healthy, she's talking, she's walking around if they tell her to walk around the hospital. And this hospital specializes in helping couples who struggle with children.
I just feel like there's so much more to the story. I would like to have, like, why at 70 did she decide? Did they try it? Because fertility stuff has been around for a while.
She doesn't have any eggs in her ovaries.
Why not 60?
Did someone donate the eggs? You know what I mean? Because usually with in vitro fertilization, they give you Clomid, which is a drug and there's another drug, and it makes your follicles develop faster, because every time you ovulate, one follicle gets released. An egg gets released from a follicle. So the follicle, you only develop one follicle in one ovary, then it switches to the other ovary and goes back and forth. So they give you this drug, and both ovaries develop a bunch of follicles. And then they extract those eggs, and they fertilize them, and then they put them back into the uterus for implantation.
Yes.
And usually they put in 2 or 3 embryos because they don't think all of them are going to make it. So you go, where'd they get the eggs? Someone must have donated eggs.
Yes.
And
which does change things too, because a woman's egg at 50, if she still has them, versus 20 are very different health-wise.
And like some women, I have multiple patients who underwent chemotherapy and so on for cancers. What they did was the doctor said, let's take some eggs and freeze them so that you can still get pregnant afterwards if this treatment ends up making you infertile.
Right.
And so I wonder how long you can keep those frozen eggs.
Yeah.
This is really interesting stuff. But like you said, we just don't have enough information. But back, the media reported that a 73-year-old woman in southern India gave birth to twin girls in 2019. And I think, and that was also with IVF. And I think that one is the oldest woman to give birth.
Yeah.
73.
Well, in our current.
Right.
We know biblically they were giving birth way older than that.
Well, just Sarah, right? Sarah, Abraham's wife.
Well, but the life expectancy was so much higher. I think all of them were giving birth much.
I don't know, because in the Bible it says Sarah laughed and said, "How could I at this age give birth?"
Yeah, but she was really, really advanced age.
She was an old 90-year-old. She gave birth at 90.
Was it 90? I
90.
thought it was way older.
No,
than that.
it was 90.
Huh.
I just read it the other day.
Huh.
I wanted to prepare. So, anyways, that's some Bible information for you. I believe she was 90. I believe Abraham was 99 or something. I think he was like 9 years older. And anyways, they both didn't think it would happen. That's why they went another way. Great story. You guys should read it. So, take care. We're going to go through a few more articles on the next podcast. And this is probably going to come out after Christmas. So hope you all had a great Christmas and celebrated with family and didn't eat too much processed foods.
Yeah.
God bless. Take care.
See ya.